From simple huts, wind towers, and abras, to glass towers, air conditioning, and 12-lane expressways, today's Dubai looks little like its past. Is it in the process of creating a modern Arab identity? Imran and Maryam are in their early 30s and have their own companies. Both are inspired by the past, but want to create a modern Emirati aesthetic. Imran Al-Awais and Maryam Husseini, Dubai's inside-outers, are creating a modern Emirati aesthetic. Interiors and buildings that draw on the past, but belong to the future. I'm meeting Imran at one of his completed projects, a set of contemporary villas in Dubai's Jumeirah neighborhood. What elements can we see in this building that are representative of your work?
I have certain kind of like signatures that I would like to use. The amount of light in a space, the wood flooring, and most importantly is the sunlight into the space.
And why are you so proud of this space?
I'm proud of it because I can see the challenges that we have went through, composing it together, putting it together, construction.
And how much interest is there in your work?
The interest right now is mostly from the tenants who are renting the space. So that's what makes the client come back to me to design more projects for them.
And what about architects? Is there anyone that inspires you?
It's not a specific architect, but in general to have the community that inspires me, the culture, the society.
Imran took me to see one of his other projects, which looked far from finished. So why did you design these houses the way you did?
I think what we wanted to do is something that can stand out in Mirdif, and hopefully it is.
Okay, and what are some of the unique things we can see here?
I think the program itself is very interesting for me. It has double height space, corner window glass, such as this.
Well, it looks very nice.
Thanks.
And when do you think it'll be done?
Let's say 2 or 3 weeks.
2 weeks, really?
Yeah, should
This?
be.
In design, the inside is just as important as the outside. While Imran is creating exteriors that look Emirati, Maryam is making the interiors Emirati too.
These are our new headquarters. We'll be shifting in soon, hopefully. We've been looking forward to it for the past 5 years now.
What kind of projects are you working on at the moment?
We have one of our clients in the Almas Tower is the International Gemological Institute. We're doing their offices. We're doing a residential project in the Business Bay. It's a loft. And we're looking into doing a project in UK as well. I love modern. I like to play with different textures. I love to play with lighting to bring out, enhance the space through the lighting as well.
Imran Al-Awais was born in this sort of neighborhood. Today it's gone, replaced by high-rises. Imran had construction in his blood. His family are all civil engineers. So did you like architecture as a kid?
Yeah, I liked architecture. I didn't know about architecture as an architecture, but I liked to play with the dollhouse. Those things were around our neighbors' houses, stuff like that. So it was interesting to destroy them, rebuild them.
You grew up in a neighborhood like this. What was that like?
It was very slow growing. They didn't have a shopping mall every other weekend. It was something that's very new to study architecture. When we were younger, if there's somebody who builds a house a kilometer away from my house, we knew that he's building, you know, and we know what type of design. We can enter the house, look at things.
What did you study when you first went to university?
I started, I think, the wrong major. I started civil engineering. Once I submitted my exam, I was telling the professor, you know, when I'm going to draw, you know, I need to draw and I need to put the doors or the windows. He said, no, your task is to read the drawings and execute them. So I was really shocked after a year and a half that I was studying the wrong major. And then later on, he advised me that I have to change to architecture, and that's what I did.
Maryam's first projects were for her family, a toy store for her sister, and a trophy room for her brother.
I have two brothers who love hunting as a hobby. So they go to South Africa once a year. So they like to bring home their trophies.
I feel like that baboon's staring at me.
Well, he is.
How old were you when you first started designing?
I was pretty young. I mean, maybe 12, 10, 12, something around like that. That's when we actually shifted to this home as well. So it was time for whole renovation.
Miriam was always a very creative child. She was always she was the soul of the family. She was the designer of the house. Every morning we'd go to school, we'd come back during school, and she wasn't doing much studying, I guess, because she was thinking about what she wants to do in the room when she gets back. So we're moving the bed around, moving the sofa around, moving the TV around. She would paint her own walls.
What did your sister think of you moving everything around?
I guess be annoyed by it, because every day she'd have a different place to sleep.
You get used to something and then suddenly everything changes, but it kept everything, we kept the cool between us, you know, yeah, it was okay. It was okay. We could handle it.
So when did you first know you wanted to go into interior design?
My final year of school. I was surrounded by 5 brothers who loved business, because my father wasn't, so they were encouraged to do that. My 2 eldest sisters are doctors. I don't like blood, so I just wanted to do something different.
After the break, we'll discover what the inside-outers did when they came back from college, how they came to open their own businesses, and we'll get the bigger picture on the state of contemporary Emirati design. Later, we find out how the inside-outers plan to shape Dubai's design industry. But first, Imran Al-Awais explains how a walk he took from Sharjah to Dubai changed everything.
As an architect, I wanted to explore the city, and I like what I saw. You know, the density of the city, the openness of the city. It was very interesting.
Did you learn anything from this walk?
What I liked is the buildings, the low-rise buildings. They were much more interesting because the people were they were closer together. And this is something about architecture. You know, if the buildings if the buildings connect people, then it works. You know, that's what I think.
And who was your very first client?
My very first client is one of the toughest clients anyone can have.
Okay.
It's your own parents.
Your parents?
Yes, and I have to convince them that I can do the project, because for them they see me as a kid, you know, running around in Pampers and house. They had to see me as an architect and not as their own child.
After finishing college in San Francisco, Maryam didn't need time to find her inspiration. She immediately opened her own company. I know that your company has a tradition of combining Eastern and Western design concepts. Tell me a bit more about that.
I love living in California, so that brought me from the West. So in the East, I love the Islamic culture, the design, the patterns. I wanted to bring both of my passion together, basically.
Design is about icons. In the world of interior design, the chair is the ultimate icon. It comes in all shapes, sizes, and materials. Some don't look like chairs. Others don't even look comfortable. The Badoon sofa is Dubai's first attempt to create contemporary seating based on local culture. It's the work of Katrine Greeling, a Dubai-based designer who has been in the Emirates for several years.
I was lucky I had the opportunity to be invited to Bedouin tents. I spent a lot of time in Liwa, which is one of my favorite places. And I observed how the Bedouins sleep in the tents, how the mattresses are stacked in the corner during the day. And that was the initial idea.
Would you consider the Badoon sofa to be contemporary Emirati design?
I definitely would say it's contemporary Emirati design, because it's designed here with a reflection, a very personal reflection about the area where I am.
For someone like me, who might not know, what exactly is contemporary Emirati design?
I think it has different aspects. I mean, it's not only design which is designed by Emiratis, but I think it's design which reflects the culture or the geographical position.
Now, because you're a chair designer, I actually designed a chair today, and I want to know what you think. Okay, be honest. You ready?
Okay, it's my turn.
Here it is.
Wow, it's like a chair that can talk.
It's the dragon chair. Basically, you can see it has a voice. It's voice activated, and it also has a voice itself.
Yeah.
And if you look here, you see there's actually fire. I mean, if you're a smoker, I'm not a smoker, but if you were a smoker, then you could light your cigarette on there. So what do you think?
This is like more like a piece of art.
So basically, it's a nice way of saying it's not so good.
The Badoon sofa is becoming a local design icon. But what about architecture? We hear all the time about buildings like the Burj Khalifa and the Burj Al Arab. But can either of them be called Emirati icons? John Alexander Smith teaches design at the American University and is writing a book about the way Dubai has grown as a city. He's thought a lot about contemporary Emirati architecture and has some clear ideas of his own.
Emirati design is concerned with the wall, the sewer, and the Rabaat, which is the defensive tower.
Is anyone using these Emirati elements in architecture today?
Well, I can think of Khalid al-Najjar, I can think of Saif al-Kabi from Al-Ain. They're relatively young architects who really want to make a difference.
Why is it so important to have a modern Emirati design aesthetic?
I think if the Emirati nation is to imbue a sense of culture, it can't just operate at superficial levels.
In terms of your own class, are there any pupils, Emirati pupils, who you think are particularly promising?
The portents are very good. First of all, there's enthusiasm. That's so important. And there's a willingness to learn, and there's a questioning attitude about architectural students typically. And Emirati students are very much in that mold. And this encourages me, and I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some excellent architects around in the next generation.
The more I understand about contemporary Emirati design, the more I realize how important it is. Design isn't just about appearances, it's about reflecting identity and culture. But I still don't understand the process. How do you make something look or feel more Emirati?
There is a fine line between what we're talking about, the modern architecture and the Emirati. We see a lot of Emirati want to have the modern architecture, but the fusion between these two cultures is a lot of problems created. For example, we have the open living dining kitchen. We cook fish that creates smell, and the smell is translated into, it goes through the dining area and then living area. Looking at Emirati architecture, this kind of design does not work.
Amran wanted to give me a chance to create an Emirati house. So what's my project today?
Let's start with something simple. Designing a two-bedroom house, ground plus one. So ground floor you have living, dining, kitchen. On the other floor you have 2 bedrooms.
Sounds good. I'll be right back. So, designing a 2-bedroom house. That shouldn't take long.
Okay, good, thank you.
So, what do you think?
I think you got the idea of ground plus one. That's for sure. But maybe we can work on a little bit details.
And what do you think of the tent top?
The tent top is unnecessary because it might have a resemblance to desert or the Bedouin style, which is a good. But when it comes to function, we need to understand why are we doing it. With one line, you're basically costing the client or the tenant extra money for no benefits that comes back to him.
Well, that's a lot to digest. Maybe I should try interior design instead. What basic skills do you need to be an interior designer?
4 years of college to start with.
4 years I don't have, okay.
Yeah. And to deal with and knowing the skill of how to understand your client's liking and dislikes.
Okay, so is this how you'd present the materials to the clients?
Yeah, these would be the different finishes that we'd show to the client as options.
Okay, so let's say I'm a client. And, okay, what do we have? We got some marble here.
Right.
And you give me these choices, these 4. And I'm a very difficult client.
Right.
I don't like any of them.
Okay.
I say I want that one.
Okay.
What do you do then?
I would go back and select different options with related to the same color scheme. Maybe that's the reason why you chose that.
And are most of your clients as difficult as I am?
Not really, just the female clients with their residences.
How do you bring Emirati designs into your work?
I would, for example, take a piece of glass, an element or a finish that is within the space that has been selected, put in the lattice design or some
Emirati lattice design?
right, the traditional lattice designs that you would see in the olden homes. Put it onto this by wood or laser cut into the marble, just to emphasize the design a little bit.
Miriam thinks that the only way I'll understand what she does is by doing it myself. She's in there right now picking out a chair for her new project. And when she comes out, I have to pick out the exact same chair. So have you picked out the chair?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And what are we looking for?
Something simple.
Simple. That's it.
That's it.
Okay. Sounds simple. I think I've got the perfect chair for you.
Okay.
You ready to see it?
Yep.
I really think you're gonna love it.
Okay.
So here is the perfect chair. What do you think?
Well, it is very nice.
Okay, and drum roll. Did I get it right?
Not for my choice, no. This is the chair.
Huh. After the break, our inside-outers tell us what makes their city so special, and we ask about the future of Emirati design. Later, we meet up with Imran and Miriam as they tell us what makes Dubai so inspiring. But first, the woman who dreams of representing her city in Milan's famous design fair, the Salone dei Mobili. 28-year-old Ilham Al-Hammadi works as an interior designer with a local company. It's a job she loves, but how did she find the move from university to the workplace?
College, it's very, very different because they cannot always prepare you for everything. They give you an idea of what to expect out there, but there's so many things happening, so many materials coming in, so many technologies, so it's basically hard to cope up initially, but as long as you're determined, it's fine.
Do you have anything you're working on right now?
Yes, we are. I'm working on a residential project in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're trying to bring in Burj Al Arab.
Burj Al Arab, that was in Abu Dhabi, that was the brief?
Yes, that was.
Is this it here, right here?
Yes, this is it. This is it. We're currently doing the master bedroom. So we have a nice soft green with very nice subtle colors. Yeah, I like to bring in stuff from all over and put it together and experiment. My favorite piece, right, so far has been something I did for my senior project. It was a week away from submission, and I was breaking my head thinking, how am I going to do this? It's submission. And I was very tired working in my friend's office. It was maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, eating my burger, sitting on the floor, and I see my legs, and I'm like, hey, I just found my furniture piece. So I used my own legs as my inspiration and twisted it around and came up with a very nice bench. I'm very proud of it. I would love to see it being manufactured sometime.
While Ilham is proud of her chair, Imran Al-Awais is proud of his photos. Like all architects, he is inspired by his surroundings. Imran's passionate about recording the colors and textures of the UAE.
Photography is something that I like to do it for myself. It's a process of viewing the moment that has been frozen. So for example, if I like this moment here, I can freeze it and can look back at it.
Speaking of moments and sort of history, do you have any aspects of traditional culture in your work?
Mostly what I do is recording architecture space. As an architect, looking at spaces, that's how I started. So it was more of an engineering kind of process, but it helped me through designing and through evolving into looking at local architecture.
Now, what is it about Dubai that inspires you?
Dubai has many layers looking at it. It has the old and the new, so that's very interesting to record it and view it after, like, for example, 5-10 years, because this is who we are today.
Do you think Emirati architecture will ever become world famous in the future?
I think it will be famous worldwide, but right now we can look at our current time and evolve, do something new for the future.
Contemporary Emirati design's future depends on public support. What can be done to increase awareness of local designers and architects?
The future of Emirati architecture hopefully is in the hands of Emirati architects, and not all the foreigners like myself who come in and preach the aesthetic of the time.
Where do you think the future of Emirati design is headed?
It's going much more towards modern. I see a lot of the students that I get from as interns from Zayed University, they have been pushed more towards the modern design.
I think in the future there is, in the market there's a big niche to have Emirati architects, but architects are not, it's not the idea is just to design a house or a building. There are so many aspects looking into it, looking into green architecture, looking at sustainable, social, how it works with us. Building towers and stuff like that, maybe there are other people that are experts in it, but we need to look at how we can develop our own self. So the future looks very promising and very challenging for us.
Thanks to people like Imran, Maryam, and Ilham, the debate over what is modern and what is Emirati is becoming broader. Their work is opening up exciting new possibilities. The future looks bright.